Dr. Claire Morrison had been running for 3 years. She used to be a combat medic in the Terran Defense Corps, one of the best, but now she was a fugitive, hiding in the darkest corners of space. Her crime was simple. She had refused to turn her medical research into a weapon. The military wanted to use her breakthrough to kill people, not save them. She said no, and that made her an enemy of Earth. Now she lived on Refuge Point, a broken-down space station clinging to an asteroid. The station was in neutral territory, far from Earth's reach. Here humans were rare. A human doctor was even rarer. Claire ran a small clinic in the lower levels of the station. She treated miners, spacers, and criminals. They paid her with whatever they had: food, spare parts, sometimes just information. It was not much of a life, but it was safe. Or so she thought. Everything changed when the Cravathi warship arrived. The Cravathi were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. They stood 8 feet tall with armored bodies and 4 powerful arms. Their empire controlled a third of known space. They had crushed dozens of weaker species. Humanity had only survived by staying small and quiet, hoping the Cravathi would not notice them. The warship came in the middle of the night, damaged and leaking atmosphere. Claire was sleeping in the back room of her clinic when the door exploded inward. She grabbed the plasma pistol she kept under her desk, but stopped when she saw who had entered. 5 Cravathi warriors filled her small clinic. Their armor was scorched and dented. Purple blood stained their chest plates. The leader held up 2 of his hands in what looked like a peaceful gesture. Claire had never seen a Cravathi do that before. "Human doctor," the warrior said in rough galactic standard. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Our leader dies. You come now. You save him, or we burn this station and everyone on it." Claire's heart hammered in her chest. She knew what this meant. If she refused, thousands of people would die. The Cravathi did not make empty threats, but if she went with them, if she saved their leader, Earth's authorities might find out. They would come for her. She looked at the warrior's face. Even through the alien features, she could see desperation. These soldiers were terrified of losing their commander. "Take me to him," Claire said. She grabbed her medical kit and followed them. The Cravathi warship was massive, a floating fortress built for war. Warriors lined the corridors, watching her pass. They parted silently as she walked through. Claire could feel their eyes on her, measuring, judging. She was so small compared to them, barely reaching their chests. They brought her to the command deck. It was a huge room filled with tactical displays and weapon controls. In the center, on a raised platform, lay their leader, Warmaster Krell the Unbroken, Supreme Commander of the 3rd Cravathi Armada, the most dangerous warrior in this part of space. And he was dying. Claire could see it immediately. His breathing came in short, painful gasps. Purple blood pooled beneath him. His skin had turned a sickly gray color. She recognized the symptoms: radiation poisoning, internal bleeding, and infection. Any one of these would kill him. Together, they should have killed him hours ago. Only Cravathi toughness kept him alive. "What happened to your doctors?" Claire asked. "Dead," said a warrior standing nearby. His armor marked him as second in command. "The Zethians attacked us. Same weapons that hurt the Warmaster. Our medical bay was destroyed. All our healers died." Claire knelt beside the massive warrior. Up close, she could see how bad the damage was. The Zethians had used weapons designed specifically to kill Cravathi. They targeted the weak points in Cravathi biology, exploiting vulnerabilities that few species knew about. But Claire had studied alien medicine for years. She had worked with dozens of species, learning how their bodies functioned. More importantly, she had made breakthroughs that no one else had achieved. She understood that Cravathi had backup organs, redundant systems that could keep them alive if properly managed. Their cell structure was similar to Earth Octopi in some ways. If she could stabilize those cells, she might be able to save him. "I need 6 hours," Claire said. "No one comes in. No one interrupts me. When I finish, you let me leave this ship alive." The second in command looked at her. His mandibles clicked together, a sound that might have been laughter or might have been threat. "If he lives, you leave with more wealth than you can imagine," the warrior said. "If he dies, you die with him. These are our ways." "Fine," Claire said. "Now get out and let me work." The warriors left. Claire was alone with the dying Warmaster. She opened her medical kit and got to work. What followed was the hardest surgery of her life. She had to bypass damaged organs, reroute blood flow through veins that were barely holding together, and neutralize the radiation using drugs she mixed on the spot. The War Master's body fought her every step. His immune system tried to reject her treatments. His backup organs kept failing. But Claire did not stop. She worked for 5 hours and 40 minutes straight. Her hands shook from exhaustion. Her eyes burned from staring at the medical displays. Sweat dripped down her face. But slowly, gradually, the War Master's vital signs improved. His breathing steadied. His color returned. The bleeding stopped. And then his eyes opened. For a moment, Claire thought she had made a terrible mistake. The War Master's eyes focused on her with an intensity that made her want to run. She was suddenly aware of how vulnerable she was, how easily he could kill her with one hand. But then the War Master's mandibles spread wide. It took Claire a moment to realize he was smiling. "You pulled me from death, little human," he said. His voice was stronger now, still rough but no longer weak. "I am in your debt." Claire tried to respond, but exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. The adrenaline that had kept her going drained away. Her legs gave out. The last thing she remembered was falling forward, and the War Master catching her with surprising gentleness. Then everything went black. When Claire woke, she did not know where she was. The room was too nice, too clean. Real gravity pressed her into a soft bed. A viewport showed stars streaming past. For a confused moment, she thought she was back on Earth, that the last 3 years had been a dream. Then she remembered. The Krivathi, the dying War Master. The surgery. She sat up quickly, looking around. Her medical kit sat beside the bed, cleaned and restocked. Someone had given her new clothes. A simple but well-made jumpsuit. The door was not locked. 2 Krivathi warriors stood guard outside. When they saw her, they straightened to attention. It was a gesture of respect, not threat. "The War Master asks that you come to the command deck," one said. His galactic standard was much better than the first warriors had been. Claire followed them through the ship. Everywhere she looked, warriors stopped what they were doing to stare at her. Some nodded. Others simply watched. Word of what she had done had clearly spread through the entire ship. The command deck was packed with warriors when she arrived. Hundreds of them stood in perfect formation, all facing the center platform. On that platform stood War Master Krell. He looked healthy, strong, almost as if he had never been injured. Only the fresh scars on his armor showed what had happened. "Dr. Claire Morrison," Krell's voice boomed across the deck. "Come forward." The warriors parted, creating a path straight to the platform. Claire walked it, feeling every eye on her. She stopped at the base of the platform and looked up at the War Master. "You saved my life," Krell said. "By Krivathi law, I owe you a life debt. You may name your price, human. Credits, technology, safe passage anywhere in the galaxy. Whatever you want is yours." Claire opened her mouth to ask for transport to a distant colony, somewhere safe, somewhere hidden. But before she could speak, alarms screamed through the ship. The alarms were deafening. Red lights flashed across every surface. Warriors rushed to their stations with practiced speed. Commander Vex, the second in command, ran to Krell's platform. "War Master, Zethian fleet detected. 20 capital ships emerging from hyperspace. They followed our trail." Claire's stomach dropped. The Zethians, the same species that had nearly killed Krell before, and now they had brought an entire fleet to finish the job. The command deck transformed into controlled chaos. Tactical displays lit up, showing the enemy ships closing fast. Claire could see the formation clearly. 20 massive warships against 1 damaged Krivathi vessel. The odds were impossible. "How long until they reach weapons range?" Krell demanded. 30 minutes, War Master," Vex replied. Then he lowered his voice. "Sir, you should not fight. Your wounds are too recent. You need more time to heal." "I am strong enough," Krell said, but Claire could see he was lying. His hands trembled slightly. His breathing was faster than it should be. The surgery had saved his life, but his body needed weeks to fully recover. He could command, but he should not be in battle. Claire understood the situation immediately. This one ship could not defeat 20. Even with Krell at full strength, it would be suicide. The Zethians had come to destroy them, and they had the firepower to do it. But Claire also understood something else. She had studied Krivathi culture during her years in exile. She knew their laws, their traditions, and she saw an opportunity. "I want to claim my payment," Claire said loudly. The entire command deck went silent. Every warrior turned to look at her. Even Krell seemed surprised. Human, this is not the time, Vex started to say. This is exactly the time, Claire interrupted. She looked directly at Krell. War Master, you offered me anything I desire. I claim command of this fleet. The silence that followed was absolute. No one moved. No one breathed. For a moment, Claire thought she had made a fatal mistake. You cannot be serious, Vex said. You are not Cravathi. You are not even a soldier. She saved the War Master when all our warriors failed, Krell said slowly. His voice was thoughtful. That makes her more than a soldier, and makes her worthy. He studied Claire with new interest. She could see him thinking, calculating. Then his mandibles spread in that same smile from before. No one has ever made such a demand, Krell said. But the life debt is sacred. Our laws are clear. You want command? Then you shall have it. For this one battle, Dr. Morrison, show me what humans can do. He stepped down from the command platform and gestured for her to take his place. Claire climbed up, her heart pounding. From this height, she could see the entire command deck. Hundreds of alien warriors all watching her, all waiting to see if she would fail. Warriors of the Third Armada, Krell's voice boomed. I invoke the ancient right of battle debt. This human commands us now. Her orders are my orders. Anyone who disobeys will answer to me personally. Every warrior in the room slammed a fist against their chest in salute. The sound was like thunder. Claire looked at the tactical display. 20 Zethian capital ships were closing fast. She had maybe 10 minutes before they could start shooting. Her mind raced, analyzing the situation like she would analyze a patient's symptoms. Commander Vex, she said, trying to keep her voice steady, show me everything. Fleet composition, weapon status, damage reports, and I need full tactical data on the Zethian ships. Vex hesitated for only a second before obeying. Information flooded the displays around her. Claire absorbed it all, her medical training helping her process the complex systems. Ships were not so different from bodies. Both were systems within systems, each part affecting the whole. The Zethian formation was perfect. Too perfect. They had arranged their ships in a classic attack pattern, the kind taught in every military academy in the galaxy. Heavy ships in the center, faster ships on the flanks to surround and destroy. It was textbook tactics, and that was their weakness. How do Cravathi normally fight? Claire asked. We charge, Krell said from beside the platform. We hit them with everything we have. We break them through superior firepower and courage. And that is exactly what they expect, Claire said. They have probably practiced this scenario 100 times. One damaged Cravathi ship against superior numbers. They know you will charge their center, so they have positioned their strongest ships there to meet you. So what do you suggest? Vex asked. We cannot outrun them. We cannot outgun them, no, Claire agreed. But we can outsmart them. Humans did not survive on Earth by being the strongest or fastest. We survived by being unpredictable. She manipulated the tactical display, highlighting specific enemy ships. The Zethians are using a modified Thessian envelopment, she explained. Strong center wings designed to flank and surround. It works against conventional tactics, but it assumes the target will either try to break through the center or run away. It does not account for a target that splits its fire. This ship cannot split, Vex pointed out. The ship does not need to, Claire said, but our weapons do. How many missile tubes are operational? 42, the weapons officer reported. But we have limited ammunition. How many missiles total? 214. Then we use every single one, Claire said. Not in waves. All at once. Target every ship in their formation, focusing on the lighter ships on their flanks. That is wasteful, Vex protested. We should concentrate fire on their command ship. That is what they expect, Claire said. Their command ship will have the strongest shields and best point defense systems. We cannot kill it with missiles alone, but we can make them react. She expanded the tactical display to show the Zethian wing ships. See these ships on the flanks? They are lighter, faster, designed for pursuit. They also have weaker defenses. When they see missiles coming at every ship in their fleet, their commanders will have to make a choice. Stay in formation to protect the center, or break formation to dodge. They will stay in formation, Krell said. The Zethians value coordination above everything. Exactly, Claire said. So they will rely on their point defense systems to shoot down the missiles. But point defense is designed for sequential threats, not simultaneous saturation. Some missiles will get through, maybe not enough to destroy ships, but enough to damage them and distract them. And while they are distracted? Vex asked. She could hear understanding in his voice now. While they are distracted, we do not charge their center, Claire said. We accelerate straight toward Refuge Point Station. We use the station as cover, force them to split their formation to pursue us. In the confusion, we target their command ship with everything we have left, not to destroy it, but to disable its communications array. The Cravathi officers looked at each other. Claire could almost see them testing her strategy in their minds. Without communications, their formation collapses, the weapons officer said slowly. 20 ships become 20 individual targets unable to coordinate. And we pick them off one by one, Claire finished. Or more likely, they retreat. The Zethians are logical. They will not continue an attack when coordination is impossible. It is not honorable, one warrior muttered. It is survival, Krell said sharply. Honor means nothing to the dead. The human's strategy is sound. We will follow it. He turned to Claire and bowed his head slightly. A gesture of respect she had never seen a Cravathi give to anyone outside their species. Give your orders, Commander. Claire took a deep breath. This was it. No going back. All tubes load for simultaneous launch, she ordered. Target every ship in that formation. Weapons officer, you have 3 minutes. Helm. Prepare for full acceleration toward Refuge Point. Engineering, I need maximum power to engines. Pull it from shields if you have to. The bridge exploded into activity. Warriors rushed to carry out her orders. Claire watched the tactical display, counting down the seconds. The Zethian fleet was 20 million kilometers away and closing. 15 million. 10 million. Weapons range. They are hailing us, the communications officer reported. Demanding our surrender. Ignore them, Claire said. Weapons status? All tubes loaded. Targeting solutions locked. Fire! The warship shuddered as every missile tube fired at once. 214 missiles streaked toward the Zethian fleet, spreading out to hit every ship simultaneously. Helm. Full acceleration toward Refuge Point. Now. The ship lurched forward. Claire gripped the platform railing, watching her plan unfold. The Zethian formation held exactly as she predicted. Their point defense systems lit up, destroying missile after missile. But there were too many coming from too many angles. Explosions bloomed across their fleet. Shields flickered and failed. Ships broke formation, not from fear but from damage. Weapons target the command ship's communications array. All remaining firepower, fire! The Cravathi ship's main guns spoke as one. The Zethian command ship focused on the missile swarm never saw it coming. Their communications array exploded in a shower of debris. The Zethian formation began to collapse immediately. Ships veered in different directions, some pursuing, some holding position, some falling back. Without coordination, their advantage meant nothing. They are withdrawing, Vex reported, awe in his voice. The fleet is breaking off. Claire watched the enemy ships retreat. Her hands shook with adrenaline. She had done it. Against impossible odds, she had won the command. 3 months had passed since the battle at Refuge Point. In that time, Claire Morrison had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A human commanding Cravathi warriors. The warship had been repaired and upgraded. More ships had joined them, drawn by stories of the human commander who had defeated a superior force. War Master Krell had issued a challenge throughout the Third Armada. Any officer who could beat Claire's tactics in simulation would earn an immediate promotion. So far, no one had succeeded. Claire stood in the war room studying holographic displays of the Zethian front. The war had gotten worse. The Zethians, angry about their defeat, had committed 5 full battle groups to the sector. They were winning. Traditional Cravathi tactics were failing against their numbers and technology. They are learning, Krell said, examining the tactical data. They no longer rely only on formation. They adapt just as we learned to adapt. Good, Claire replied. Predictable enemies are easy to defeat once. Adaptive enemies force you to become better. She had been studying human military history in her spare time. Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Rommel, Patton. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had developed strategies that worked perfectly in space combat, even though they were created centuries before humans left Earth. The Zethians want a conventional war, Claire said. Fleet against fleet attrition warfare. They have more ships and better technology. In that kind of war, they win. So we do not give them that war, Vex said. He had become Claire's most devoted follower, studying her methods carefully. What do we give them instead? Uncertainty, Claire said. Fear. exhaustion. We make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Over the following weeks, Claire changed how the Third Armada fought. Instead of meeting Zethian fleets in direct combat, she divided the Armada into smaller, faster groups. These groups struck supply lines, attacked isolated outposts, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. When the Zethians sent major forces to hunt them down, Claire regrouped and struck somewhere else entirely. She avoided battles the Cravathi could not win. She forced engagements where they held every advantage. It was guerrilla warfare on a stellar scale, and it was working, but success brought attention, not just from the Zethians but from the wider Cravathi Empire. Claire was reviewing supply reports when Krell entered the war room. His expression was serious. "The Council of War Masters has summoned us," he said. "They want to meet the human who commands Cravathi warriors." Claire set down her datapad. She had known this moment would come eventually. The Cravathi Empire was built on tradition and hierarchy. Her presence challenged both. "Are they going to order me to leave?" she asked. "Possibly," Krell admitted. "Or they may demand you share your knowledge with other fleets. There is also a chance they will see you as a threat." "A threat to what?" "To everything Cravathi," Krell said. "We built our empire on strength and honor. You win through deception and indirect action. To some this is weakness. To others it is dangerous." The council chamber was enormous, carved from solid rock and decorated with weapons from 1,000 conquered worlds. 12 war masters sat in judgment, each commanding vast portions of the Cravathi military. These were the Empire's greatest warriors, living legends. Claire stood before them, feeling very small. Dr. Claire Morrison, the High War Master, spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We have reviewed your tactics. We have studied your victories, and we are concerned." "May I ask why, High War Master?" Claire kept her voice steady. "You avoid direct combat," another War Master said. "You strike from hiding. You retreat when victory is uncertain. These are not Cravathi ways." "No," Claire agreed. "They are human ways. And they work. They work because the enemy does not expect them," a third War Master argued. "Once they adapt, your tricks will fail. Then I will develop new tricks," Claire said. "That is the point. Warfare is not static. It evolves. If you fight the same way for centuries, you become predictable, and predictable warriors die." Silence filled the chamber. Claire realized she had just insulted the greatest warriors in the Empire. But she could not take the words back. And she did not want to. "Bold words for someone so small," the High War Master said. "Tell me, human, why should we allow you to continue? Why should we adopt your methods when they contradict everything we believe?" Claire took a breath. This moment would determine everything. "Because the galaxy is changing," she said. "The Zethians are not the only threat. Younger species are developing faster, learning from conflicts across known space. They study you. They analyze your tactics. They prepare countermeasures. In another generation, the Cravathi Empire will face enemies that can match your strength. When that day comes, if you have not learned to adapt, you will fall. And you believe your human methods can save us?" Skepticism filled the War Master's voice. "I believe diversity makes you stronger," Claire said. "Humans did not dominate Earth through strength. We were weaker than most predators, slower than prey animals, more fragile than insects. But we survived because we could think differently. We used tools. We cooperated. We adapted. Eventually, we left our planet and reached the stars." She gestured to the weapons on the walls. "You have conquered many species. You have built an empire. But how many of those species brought you something new? How many challenged you to think differently? Or did you simply crush them and move on?" "You speak as if we are failing," the High War Master said. His tone was thoughtful rather than angry. "I speak of you as having one way," Claire said. "A powerful way. An honorable way. But only one. Let me show you another. Not to replace your traditions, but to add to them. Keep your strength and your honor. But add unpredictability. Add adaptation. Become an empire that cannot just fight, but can outthink any enemy." The War Masters talked among themselves in their own language. Claire waited, knowing her fate hung in the balance. Finally, the High War Master spoke. "You will continue with the Third Armada," he said. "But you will also train others. We will assign officers from other fleets to study your methods. If your way proves better, it will be adopted throughout the Empire. If it fails, you will accept Cravathi tradition. Do you agree?" "I do," Claire said. "Then we grant you a title, the High War Master continued. From this day forward you are Shadowblade, the hidden warrior who strikes from darkness. May your enemies never see you coming. The chamber erupted in a war chant, hundreds of Cravathi voices raised in acknowledgement. Claire stood tall, accepting the honor while recognizing the responsibility it carried. She was no longer just a medic. She was no longer just a commander. She had become a bridge between species, combining human creativity with Cravathi strength. Back on the warship, Claire worked with her new students. Officers from across the Empire came to learn. Some were eager, hungry for new knowledge. Others were skeptical, convinced that traditional methods were superior. Claire taught them all. She showed them how to use terrain even in space, how asteroid fields and gas clouds could provide cover, how gravity wells could be used to slingshot ships into unexpected positions, how to read an enemy's formation and find the weakness hidden in apparent strength. More importantly, she taught them to question, to ask why things were done a certain way, to look for better solutions rather than simply following tradition. Not all of them understood. Some returned to their fleets unchanged, convinced that the old ways were best, but others embraced the lessons. They began experimenting, developing their own variations on Claire's tactics. The Cravathi military was evolving, becoming more flexible, more dangerous. The Zethians noticed. Their intelligence report spoke of a change in Cravathi strategy. Fleets that had once been predictable were now unpredictable. Attacks came from unexpected directions using unconventional methods. The Zethian advantage in technology and numbers meant less when the enemy refused to fight on their terms. 6 months after the council meeting, Claire received a communication that changed everything. It came on a secure channel encrypted with codes she had not used in years. Earth codes, Dr. Morrison, the message began. This is Admiral Kate Holland of the Terran Defense Corps. I know you probably do not want to hear from us. I know why you ran, and I am here to tell you that you were right. Claire listened in shock as the Admiral continued. The people who wanted to weaponize your research have been arrested. Corruption charges, abuse of power, conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. Your research has been declassified and released to the medical community. It has already saved thousands of lives. You are no longer wanted, Claire. You can come home. But as Claire listened, she realized something. Earth was not her home anymore. She had found something here among the Cravathi. A purpose. A place where she could make a real difference. Thank you, Admiral, Claire replied. But I am needed here. Tell Earth that humanity has an opportunity. The Cravathi are changing. They are learning to value different perspectives. If we approach them as allies rather than threats, we could build something important. A real partnership between species. She ended the transmission and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zethian fleet still massed. The war continued. But now there was hope for something more than endless conflict. Claire had started as a fugitive hiding in the shadows. She had become a commander who... The war with the Zethians had been going on for 2 years now. Claire had been with the Cravathi for most of that time, teaching their officers, commanding their fleets, and slowly changing how an entire empire thought about warfare. But the Zethians were learning too. Every tactic Claire developed, they eventually found a counter for. Every weakness she exploited, they eventually patched. The war had become a chess match played across light years, with both sides constantly adapting to each other. Claire stood on the bridge of the Eternal Thunder, the newest flagship of the Third Armada. Around her, Cravathi officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. They no longer questioned her orders. They had learned to trust her judgment, even when her decisions seemed strange. Commander, Vex approached her station. We have received intelligence from our scouts. The Zethians are massing a major fleet in the Kepler sector. 25 capital ships plus support vessels. It appears they are preparing for a major offensive. Claire studied the tactical display. The Kepler sector was strategically important. It controlled the primary trade route between Cravathi and neutral space. If the Zethians took it, they could strangle Cravathi supply lines. Show me their formation, Claire said. The display shifted, showing ship positions and movement patterns. Claire analyzed them carefully. Something felt wrong. The formation was too obvious, too vulnerable. The Zethians had learned better than this. It is a trap, she said. How can you be certain? Vex asked. Because it is what I would do, Claire said. They know we have scouts watching. They know we will see this buildup. They are counting on us to attack. She zoomed in on the fleet composition. Heavy ships in the center, lighter ships on the flanks. It looked like a standard defensive formation, but Claire saw something else. Look at the spacing between ships, she said. They are too far apart. If we attacked the center, the flanking ships could not provide support quickly enough. It looks like a weakness. Then it is not a weakness, Krell said, joining them at the tactical station. It is bait. Exactly, Claire agreed. They want us to attack the center. My guess is they have cloaked ships waiting in the debris field nearby. When we commit to the attack, those ships will appear behind us. How do we respond? Vex asked. Claire thought about it. The obvious answer was to avoid the trap entirely, to let the Zethians waste their time waiting for an attack that never came. But that would mean giving up the Kepler sector without a fight. We spring the trap, Claire said, but not the way they expect. Over the next week, Claire assembled a force of 12 Cravathi warships. It was a significant commitment, large enough to threaten the Zethian position, but small enough to be a tempting target. She made sure Zethian scouts saw the fleet gathering. She wanted them to know an attack was coming, but she also prepared a second force, 3 squadrons of light cruisers, fast and maneuverable. These ships were positioned in nearby systems, ready to jump in when needed. The Zethians would not see them until it was too late. The Zethians will expect us to charge their center, Claire explained to her officers. They will have their cloaked ships waiting to hit us from behind when we are committed, so we will give them what they expect, up to a point. She manipulated the tactical display. We jump in here at the edge of their sensor range. We form up as if preparing for a standard assault. The Zethians will position their hidden ships to cut off our retreat. But we will not charge. Instead, we will fire long-range missiles and immediately begin falling back. Running away? One of the officers said with confusion. Appearing to run away, Claire corrected. The Zethians will think they have broken our attack before it began. They will pursue, trying to destroy us while we are retreating. Their hidden ships will decloak and join the chase. And then? Vex asked. And then we have them exactly where we want them, Claire said. Strung out in pursuit formation, their ships separated and vulnerable. That is when our light cruisers jump in behind them. We will be the ones springing a trap. The plan was risky. It required perfect timing and coordination. If anything went wrong, Claire's main fleet could be caught between the Zethian forces and destroyed. But she had learned that sometimes the biggest risks led to the greatest victories. The day of the operation arrived. Claire's main fleet jumped into the Kepler sector exactly as planned. The Zethian fleet was waiting, arranged in their defensive formation. Claire's sensors immediately began scanning for the hidden ships. She found them after 2 minutes of searching, cloaked and holding position in the debris field exactly where she had predicted. All ships form assault formation, Claire ordered. Lock weapons on the Zethian center, prepare to engage. Her ships moved into position slowly, as if being cautious. The Zethians held their ground, waiting. Claire could imagine their commanders watching, preparing to spring their trap. Fire missiles, Claire said. Full spread. Then all ships execute retreat pattern Delta. Missiles streaked toward the Zethian fleet. Before they even reached their targets, Claire's ships began turning away, building speed. To the Zethians, it looked like panic. It's like the Cravathi had lost their nerve. Zethian fleet is pursuing, the sensor officer reported. Their hidden ships are decloaking. They are moving to cut us off. Perfect, Claire said. Maintain retreat speed. Make it look convincing. Her ships fled through space, the Zethian fleet in hot pursuit. The enemy ships were gaining, their better engines allowing them to close the distance. The hidden ships moved to flank, trying to box the Cravathi in. They are committed, Vex said. Their formation is completely broken. Signal the light cruisers, Claire said. Execute. Space rippled as 3 squadrons of Cravathi light cruisers dropped out of hyperspace directly behind the pursuing Zethian fleet. The enemy ships, focused entirely on chasing what they thought was a retreating force, never saw it coming. The light cruisers opened fire at point-blank range. Zethian shields, weakened from running their engines at full power, collapsed under the barrage. Ships exploded or lost power, drifting helplessly. All ships, reverse course, Claire ordered. Hit them from the front while the cruisers hit them from behind. Her main fleet turned and charged. The Zethians, caught between two forces, tried to reform their defensive positions, but it was too late. They were spread out, disorganized, vulnerable. The battle was over in 20 minutes. 10 Zethian ships were destroyed. The rest retreated in disorder, abandoning the Kepler sector entirely. Claire watched them go, feeling no joy in the victory. Every destroyed ship meant lives lost. Every battle, no matter how decisively won, had a cost. "A brilliant victory, Commander," Vex said. "You turned their trap against them." "We won because they underestimated us," Claire said. "They thought we would behave like traditional Cravathi forces. They did not expect deception, but they will learn. Next time, they will be ready for this kind of strategy." "Then we will develop a new strategy," Krell said. "That is what you have taught us, Claire, to never stop adapting." News of the victory spread quickly through both fleets. The Cravathi celebrated another success under their human commander, but the Zethians sent a different message. A formal communication on diplomatic channels requesting a meeting. Claire read the message with interest. The Zethians wanted to talk, not to surrender, but to discuss what they called a matter of mutual concern. "It could be a trap," Vex warned. "Everything could be a trap," Claire said, "but sometimes you have to take the risk." The meeting was arranged on a neutral station. Claire went with a small escort, including Krell and Vex. The Zethians sent their own delegation, led by someone called Prime Logical Nexus. The Zethian ambassador was different from the soldiers Claire had fought, smaller, with a crystalline body that reflected light in beautiful patterns. Their movements were precise and graceful. "Commander Morrison," Nexus spoke in perfect galactic standard, "we have studied your tactics extensively. We have analyzed your victories. We have reached a conclusion." "What conclusion?" Claire asked. "That this war cannot be won by either side," Nexus said. "You have taught the Cravathi to fight in ways we cannot predict, but we are learning to counter your methods. This conflict could continue for decades with neither side achieving decisive victory. Both our peoples will suffer greatly." "So why are you here?" Claire asked. "To propose an alternative," Nexus said. "The Zethians are a logical species. We fight when fighting serves our interests. But this war no longer serves those interests. We propose a ceasefire, followed by negotiations for a lasting peace." Claire looked at Krell. The War Master's face was unreadable. "The Cravathi do not make peace," Vex said. "We conquer or we are conquered." "Then perhaps it is time to learn a new way," Claire said. "As you learned new ways of fighting, you can learn new ways of making peace." She turned to Nexus. "What are you offering?" "A division of territory," Nexus said. "Clear borders that both sides agree to respect. Trade agreements that benefit both economies. And a mutual defense pact. We have intelligence that other species are watching this war closely. Some are preparing to attack whichever of us emerges weakened. Together we would be too strong for any of them to challenge." It made sense. Cold, logical sense. But Claire knew the Cravathi did not think purely in terms of logic. They valued honor, tradition, pride. The peace summit was held on a massive diplomatic station that orbited a dead star. Ships from both fleets surrounded it, weapons powered down but ready. After 2 years of war, trust was hard to come by. Claire stood in the main chamber with the Cravathi delegation. Across from them stood the Zethian representatives, led by Prime Logical Nexus. Between them sat negotiators from half a dozen neutral species, there to witness and help mediate. The terms had been worked out over months of careful discussion. Now came the formal signing, the moment when enemies would officially become something else. Not friends, not yet, but no longer enemies. "Before we proceed," Nexus said, "there is something I wish to address." The Zethian ambassador looked directly at Claire. "You are not Cravathi," Nexus continued, "yet you command their forces. You have shaped their strategy. Your decisions have cost my people greatly. I'm curious. Why do you fight their wars? Claire had expected this question. She had thought about her answer carefully. I do not fight their wars, she said. I paid a life debt. The War Master saved me, in a way, by giving me purpose. I repaid him by helping his people survive. But I am here today not as a warrior. I am here as someone who believes peace is worth the effort. You speak of peace, Nexus said. Yet you developed tactics that made this war more devastating than it might have been. I developed tactics that ended the war faster, Claire countered. Yes, some battles were more intense, but by making traditional attrition warfare impossible, I forced both sides to recognize that victory was not achievable. Without that recognition, this war could have dragged on for decades. Nexus considered this. Their crystalline features made their expressions hard to read, but Claire thought she saw understanding there. An interesting perspective, Nexus said. You fought so fiercely that you made peace inevitable. Something like that, Claire agreed. The signing ceremony proceeded. Leaders from both sides placed their marks on the treaty. It was not perfect. There were compromises neither side was completely happy with. But it was peace, and that was worth something. As the ceremony concluded, Krell approached Claire. The massive warrior looked thoughtful. What will you do now? He asked. Your life debt is paid many times over. You are free to go wherever you wish. Claire looked around the chamber at the assembled species. Cravathi and Zethians, former enemies now bound by treaty, neutral species who had watched the war with fear, now seeing hope for stability. I think I will stay, she said. Not with the Third Armada. My fighting days are over. But there is other work to be done. What work? Krell asked. The work I was trained for, Claire said. Healing. But not just bodies. I want to help species understand each other. Prevent conflicts before they start. Show them that there are alternatives to war. You wish to become a mediator, Nexus said, approaching them. An interesting choice. The galaxy could use more individuals like you. The galaxy could use more cooperation, Claire said. More understanding between species. We are all so different, but we all want similar things. Safety, prosperity, a future for our people. If we spent less time fighting and more time working together, imagine what we could accomplish. Over the following months, Claire began her new work. She traveled to disputed territories, places where multiple species had competing claims. She listened to grievances, helped find compromises, and showed that peaceful solutions were possible. It was harder than commanding fleets. In battle, you could force an outcome through superior strategy. In diplomacy, you had to convince people to choose peace when war seemed easier. You had to help them see past their anger and fear to the benefits of cooperation. But slowly, gradually, she made progress. Small treaties here, minor agreements there. Species that had been on the brink of conflict instead chose negotiation. It was not glamorous work. There were no dramatic victories, no moments of triumph. Just steady, patient effort to make the galaxy a slightly better place. One day, Claire received a message from Earth. It was from Admiral Holland again, the officer who had told her the charges were dropped. Claire, I hope this message finds you well. Earth has been following your career with interest. Your work with the Cravathi and now your diplomatic efforts have impressed a lot of people. We would like to offer you a position. Ambassador at Large for the Terran Diplomatic Corps. You would have the authority to represent Earth in negotiations across the galaxy. Claire read the message 3 times. It was everything she had lost when she fled Earth. Official status, recognition, the backing of her home world. But she hesitated. Taking the position would mean representing Earth's interests. It would limit what she could say, what compromises she could offer. As an independent mediator, she could focus purely on finding solutions. As an ambassador, she would have to balance that against political concerns. She thought about it for a week before responding. Admiral Holland, thank you for the offer. I am honored, but I must decline. Earth does not need another ambassador. What the galaxy needs is mediators who answer to no one but their conscience. I can do more good as an independent than I could as an official representative. The Admiral's reply came quickly. I understand. But know that Earth supports your work, official or not. If you ever need resources or assistance, you need only ask. That support proved valuable. Claire began recruiting a team, other individuals who shared her vision of a more peaceful galaxy. Some were former soldiers tired of fighting. Others were scholars who understood alien cultures. A few were simply idealists who believed things could be better. Together, they established the Interspecies Mediation Initiative. It was not a government. It had no military power, but it had something more valuable: credibility. Claire's record spoke for itself. She had commanded Cravathi fleets. She had ended a major war. When she spoke, people listened. The initiative handled dozens of disputes in its first year. Most were minor, border disagreements or trade disputes, but some were more serious. Potential wars averted by finding middle ground before hostilities could begin. Not every mission succeeded. Some conflicts were too deep, too bitter to resolve through negotiation, but enough succeeded that the initiative gained respect across the galaxy. Even species that had never heard of humans knew about Claire Morrison and her team. 5 years after the Cravathi-Zethian peace treaty, Claire found herself back on the diplomatic station where it had been signed. But this time the meeting was bigger. Representatives from 20 species had gathered, including both Cravathi and Zethians. The topic was a mutual defense alliance. Not a government, but a cooperation framework. Species would maintain their independence but agree to support each other against outside threats. It was ambitious, maybe too ambitious. Claire had helped organize the meeting, but she was not leading it. That honor went to others. She stood at the back of the chamber, watching as species that had been enemies began discussing how to become allies. Krell found her there. The War Master looked older now, with scars that told stories of many battles. "You should be up there," he said. "This is your achievement." "No," Claire said. "This is everyone's achievement. I just helped start the conversation." "You did more than that," Krell insisted. "You showed the Cravathi that strength comes in many forms, that the greatest warriors are those who know when to fight and when to seek peace. You changed us, Claire. You changed how we see the galaxy." "You changed me too," Claire said. "When I came aboard your ship, I was running, hiding, afraid. You gave me a chance to be something more, to use my skills for something that mattered. We saved each other then," Krell said, "and perhaps together we are saving others now." They watched the conference proceed. It would take years to finalize any agreement. There would be setbacks and disputes, but the fact that these species were talking, really talking, was progress. Claire thought about her journey. From fugitive medic to fleet commander to peace negotiator, it had been a strange path full of unexpected turns, but it had led somewhere meaningful. She thought about the title the Cravathi had given her. Shadow Blade, the hidden warrior who strikes from darkness. It had seemed appropriate at the time, but Krell had been right when he suggested an alternative. Bridge Builder. That title fit better now. "Do you ever regret it?" Krell asked. "Leaving Earth? Living among aliens? Fighting wars that were not yours?" Claire considered the question carefully. She could have had a quiet life. Could have stayed on Earth, practiced medicine in safety, grown old in peace. Instead, she had chosen uncertainty and danger. "No," she said finally. "I regret the mistakes I made. The battles that might have been avoided. The lives lost. But I do not regret the path I chose. I'm exactly where I should be." A young human approached them. One of Claire's recruits, a recent addition to the initiative team. "Commander Morrison," the young woman said. "We have a situation developing in the Arcturus sector. 2 species claiming the same system. It could turn violent. They have requested our assistance," Claire nodded. The work never ended. There was always another conflict, another opportunity to prevent bloodshed. "I will prepare a team," she said. The young woman left to make arrangements. Krell looked at Claire with something that might have been concern. "You could rest," he said. "You have done enough. Let others handle these disputes."